We have another deck list profile, this time for Marincess for the Attribute 4 Festival. This is the second most voted as part of my poll. And let me know how you guys feel about the festival so far. Thank you so much for supporting the legendary Fisherman Umi Control, decklist profile and gameplay. They are both out, so please check them out. So let us get on into it. So again, just like with the other build, I tried to make it 50 cards. Again, because I feel like because there's no light to dark monsters, there's not really much out to add extra cards is unnecessary. And if most of you guys notice, this is similar to my Duelist Cup March build, but I just took out a few cards that I felt okay wasn't needed. And obviously because certain cards are banned or limited, I just replaced them with some flex spots, which obviously you can choose. But this is just my take on Marincess. I'm not an expert whatsoever, so you might think the ratios are weird. Why are you playing 2 of this, 1 of that? That's up to me. I feel like I'm more comfortable. End of the day, you have to be comfortable with deck building. So you saw in my previous Marincess videos, I pretty much had more success with the ratios that I had, and I know what I'm doing. So if you're not a comfortable Marincess player, then you need to go for more standard build. Then that's what you need to do. But for this format, because there's not much really going on, I think it's nice to kind of open up the lines for new strategies, new opportunities. So you'll see even the extra deck is also slightly different, and we'll talk about that later on. But for now, let's go through the main deck. We're running 1 copy of Gameciel, the Sea-Turtle Kaiju. It is freely searchable of Ice Barrier, and sometimes you hard draw it, so it's nice to have to disrupt your opponent's board a bit. And yeah, it's just great. You're running 1 copy of Mega Fortress Whale. In case it does come up, it can target an opponent's monster, destroy it, and can special summon a warrior monster from our deck or graveyard. So we only have 1 target, which is General of the Ice Barrier, which is a monster in effect negate in a way, because unless they discard a card, then it's pretty much a monster negate every time, and it only resolves effects on the field, not in the hand or grave. So just something to note with that one. But otherwise, 1 copy is enough, and it's pretty good in the deck, I think. Ocean Dragon Lokarushin, I think it's pretty much a, if you want to call it, a pseudo boss monster of this deck specifically, because it pretty much locks your opponent out of playing unless they're playing water monsters themselves. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, this card, what it can do. And you can also search your 1 Umi search, or which is in this case is a Sea Stealth 2, which becomes Umi on the field. So it's kind of great to have in the deck, and it's just a nice follow-up, you know, in addition to your Marincess plays. Then we have triple Ice Jade Tomorrow. She sends herself from hand to grave, so just summon a water monster from hand. And yeah, she's just pretty good, and she pretty much opens up the lines for great combos, and all depends on what's in your opening hand. So that's nice running through of her. Haven't had any issues with her. She's hardly ever brick for me, so that's nice there. Then 2 copies of Abyss Shark. This is to get quickly into your rank 4 exceed, because it searches a angler, which is what we're only playing that fish monster in the deck. And also it can be a great extender also for your Marincess plays as well for link climbing. So it's kind of nice there. So that's why I run 2 copies of respectively. The only downside is it has to search angler, so if angler is already in your hand, then it's kind of a brick, but otherwise it's not too bad from there after that, so it's fine. Then also running a copy of Sleeping. Now this one is usually a questionable one, because normally people do not play her at all, which is totally fine. But for me, I think she serves the purpose of, okay, can I extend with her, or can I discard her to add her back later? That's pretty much what she's useful for. She has a very nice effect on the field. She can target any Marincess card on the field. It cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while she's on the field. So that's nice. And then also she can banish herself from the grave to re-equip a Link monster in your graveyard to a Marincess Link monster, which is nice. Aqua Spirit is here either to further extend your plays into link climbing or go into rank 4 exceed plays, which is always nice. If she does come up, perfect. If she doesn't come up, that's also fine as well. They're running the limited to 1 blue Tang. Now people are saying, oh, blue Tang, why is she at 1? Well, I don't know. I think Konami knows that this deck is quite powerful. So I think she herself is very consistent. And she can search pretty much any monster you need and send it to the grave. And then you can tap it off Blue Slug's effect to basically revive it back to your hand, add it back to your hand, which is pretty nuts. So even making it 1 doesn't really make a difference, because in my personal opinion, I think it's you know, not actually a big issue, because I myself was running it at 2. So I mean, you guys saw my Duelist Cup build. I was running 2. So playing at 1 is not really too bad, because it just means I can play more extenders and Rem, but it is a normal summon. So it's not like a Spring Girl who's an extender. So yeah, most of the time you don't want too much normal summons in the deck, because it kind of hurts your consistency as if you rely on special summons. But yeah, that's just me. And yeah, Blue Tang's a great card. And when she's Link Summoned, when she uses as material for Link Summon, she can basically activate top 3 cards, add a Marincess card, and shuffle it back into the deck. Pretty great to get the combo that you might need or may not need. Then Piscalis. Piscalis has a 2-of, is nice. She can on summon, she can summon her Marincess monster from your hand defense position and further expand from there. It also can be nice for rank 4 exceed plays. And during the main phase, you know, or during the next turn, if she's in the graveyard, she can actually revive one of your Marincess spell or traps back and add it back to your hand. So it's kind of nice for graveyard recovery there. So that's why I run 2 of her. I think you don't need more than 2. A Spring Girl, definitely need 3. When you see her in the hand, is great. Or you can even search her off Blue Tang's effect, which is also fine, or even off Sided Mining. She's basically a free extender, banish a Marincess monster from grave, special summon from the hand, and if she's used as a link material for a water monster, then she can actually send cards from deck to the grave and inflict damage to your opponent for every Marincess card sent that way, up to the number of Marincess monsters you control. So sometimes it can be 1, it can be 2. So definitely at least 1, which is always nice to have. Then we have the Abyssal target, which is Silent Angler. Angler is pretty nice. Basically it's a free special summon if we only control water monsters, which we pretty much run water monsters, so it's not an issue. However, there is a bit of a downside, because if you special summon Silent Angler, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn from your hand. So be very important to be making sure that Silent Angler is your last summon. Otherwise, if you want to add any monsters additional you want to summon from hand, you're already able to do so. So that's just something to be wary of. Then we have Silent Cineto, a great extender for this deck, and also is a level 4 for rank 4 exceed, and also for link climbing as well. And if you control a water monster, you special summon from the hand, and you basically locked out of summoning except water monsters, which is perfectly fine. And it also has a nice graveyard effect where you can banish yourself in the grave, target any 3 water monsters in the grave, and shuffle it back into the deck. So it's almost like a part of Avarice, but at home, basically. So instead of shuffling 5, you shuffle 3, and you don't get the draw effect, which is perfectly fine. You're running 1 copy of Marincess as Lima. Now, as Lima is pretty cool, because although she's not really known for Marincess in general, like, she actually does have some nice effects. So the first one, which is basically if she's in the grave, basically, if a monsters you be control will drop a battle or card effect, you can banish card from the graveyard instead. So that's kind of awesome, because if you have multiple, then it could actually potentially pop multiple times. Then the other 2 effects, the first one no one really uses because it's rarely seen, because no one really has different traps. We only play 1 trap, which is Wave. But if it does come up, if you play different traps for some reason, you can banish 1 trap in your grave, add a different one from your hand, fine. The secondary effect is nice, because if it's banished, you can target a face-up monster you control, case it's under attack. So normally, if you don't have your Ocean on the field and you have a link 4, a link 3, and for some reason you want to target for destruction, it can protect itself, and then it can also give the monster a 600 attack boost, which is quite nice. Then running 3 copies of Marincess Seers. Now, she herself is a 1-card link 4. She's great as an extender because she can summon to any link zone that's available, and it's just perfect. It's really a card that you're looking for, starter, extender, perfect, right? And also in the graveyard, you can also summon any water monster from your hand to a zone a link monster points to, So it can not have to be even a Marincess monster, it can even be an Abyss Shark, it can be a Kairushin, a General Raiho, or even a Fortress Whale. So anything to further extend your plays, that is an option for you in this deck. Running around Crusader Borea. Again, she's literally just a free, you know, special summon to a link zone, any link zone. So it's not restricted to Marincess link monsters. If your opponent even has an empty link and it points to outside of the field, you can link it off for our plays as well, or even just to start our plays if you don't have anything else. So it's pretty nice to have. Then we run Ash Blossom, because Ash Blossom is the best card in the game. And no, I don't run 3 because I only have the bundle. So I'll got my free Ash Blossom, I'll play Ash Blossom. That's me. I don't have any other 2, so that's me. Then we have the interesting tech card. This is Karohin of the Hidden Gems of the Seafront. So this card is quite interesting because obviously it's known for being an Adamantipated decks, but also can be used for water decks as well, because it basically says you can discard this card, you can normal summon 1 earth or water monster in addition to your normal summon or set. So sometimes it just gives you further extension, because sometimes if you just need 2 normal summons, this card basically gives it to you. Because the nice play here, you can activate Seafront, send normal summon your Marincess monster, activate Blue Slug, add it back to hand, and then re-normal summon that monster again. So you can at least at minimum have a link 3 play, which is quite nice. Then we also have Marincess Mandarin. Now normally people play her at 1. I actually going to play her at 2 in this build, because why? She's a very good extender. And the nice thing is if you control 2 or more Marincess monsters while this card's in your hand or grave, you can target 1 water link monster we control, special summon this card to your zone that this monster that monster points to. So be very important. Most of the time you're targeting Sea Angel's target or Crystal Heart, depending on what the play is. So their arrows are normally free, so just be careful of that. So if there's an open link arrow, she's a free special summon basically, but there has to be 2 or more Marincess monsters. That's the only downside to that. Then you're running Harpy's Feather Duster for the back row hate, running Triple Tactic Talent. Sometimes this card does come up, you know, in the matchups, especially in the mirror match sometimes, where if they go turn 1 and they make an unaffected, let's say Argonaut per se, then you try to do your plays and then they potentially can, let's say, then they negate your Ocean or whatever, or Dive or whatever. Then we can basically steal their monster and link it off for further plays. So that's nice there in the mirror match. But otherwise, it's a part of greed. You can look at their opponent's hand, shuffle a card from it into the deck. It comes up, but when it does, you can use it to your advantage. Dark Hole is nice because it's almost like a synergy with your Ballast Lima, because Ballast Lima says if we will be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish it instead from the grave. So normally you can have your full unaffected board and then you have their board, you just wipe it and then you basically are protected, because Ballast Lima says we are protected, which is nice. So that's why I play Dark Hole instead of Raigeki. So it's pretty cool there. Then we also have Dark Blue No More. Dark Blue No More is perfectly fine. It does come up if you have a full board going second and you want to start your plays, just negate their board, and then the only downside is we don't take any damage, but at least we can, you know, go full combo at least. And Silent Mining, I mean, if you're playing Cyberse, you have to play Silent Mining, right? It's a given. So Silent Mining is perfect. It basically discards any card you want, and a card you need or a card you don't need. You can add any Cyberse monster level 4 from deck to your hand, so that's perfect depending on what you need. There's also a nice synergy with Ice Barrier, because if you discard it with Ice Barrier can chain block your Silent Mining, so you can definitely always add your level 4 Cyberse or lower Cyberse, which is perfect. Anyone who can add your Kaiju has a benefit. Then we also have a Dive. 2 Dive, I think is more you need, don't need more than that. This one basically just says you can either do a Monster Reborn for your non-link Marincess monsters, or you can basically special summon from the deck, and that's quite powerful. For further extension, or just to extend your, or just to even start. If you have Ocean already in hand and you have Dive and you have nothing else, literally start your combo with that, and that's perfect. Then your Pot of Avarice, again, similar to Sinero, only this time obviously it's an actual card, so we target 5 monsters in grave. We want to get to draw 2, so we shuffle it back just to get some further options. The downside is if they do call by the grave one of those monsters, then unfortunately the effect does not resolve, so that's fine. We actually don't really need it in this case. It's usually either in your hand, you don't really need it. especially turn 1, if you have Silent Mining and Part of Avarice, you'll just discard Part of Avarice and keep going from there. Call by the Grave, because Call by the Grave will basically stop your opponent from hand trapping us like Max C, or Special Summoning, and Ash Blossom for stopping our searches. Then Sea Stealth 2, again the search target for our Karushin, and also it's actually quite a nice effect because, like I said, this card makes your monsters untargetable unless they are playing water monsters for monster effects basically. So it's pretty nice to have them in the deck. Then we're also playing 2 Ocean. It's argued, why are you playing 2 Ocean? Remember, I like flexibility. I like to either have it in my hand or I can have it searched. It doesn't really matter because, again, it's all about opening the combo lines, because if you're playing 1 and then let's say you mill it or whatever, then that's it. Then now you don't get any further extension. So I like to have 2 just to either start my plays or extend my plays, or even just to be a search target. It's perfectly fine. Double Impermanence, because why not? Evenly Matched, again, going second. Evenly Matched is broken, so why not play it? Ice Barrier. You've seen this in multiple decks. Ice Barrier is just insane. It can literally search any of your level 5 or higher water monsters, so even Sleepy Maiden is a target, which is pretty insane. And yeah, you pretty much, and also on the field, you can negate the opponent's monster and also change its attack to 0, and it cannot change its battle position, which is quite nice. So yeah, pretty good card in that case. And of course, the only god tier card next to Impermanence is Marincess Wave. This is basically an Impermanence but on steroids, because it negates a monster effect, but then also for the rest of the turn, your monsters will become unaffected if you control a link 2 or higher, which is pretty disgusting. And of course, if you have a link 3 or higher, we will be activating this card from the hand, so you don't have to set it, which is quite nice. So that pretty much is the main deck. A clean 50 cards. Again, you could cut it down to 40, but then just remember your ratios must just be making sure that you are able to make sure that you are consistent and you're able to deal with the hand that you're dealing with, so that's fine. In the extra deck, I think it's a standard, right? So we have 2 Sea Angels. Again, basically searches your Marincess spells, your Dive or your Ocean. Your Blue Slug can add one of your Marincess monsters from your graveyard, but then obviously you're locked out especially except water monsters, which is totally fine. Then running 1 Crystal Heart, again for the unaffected play, because especially, trust me, even if you're not playing this festival, if you're playing Marincess in Tier Element, Sprites, whatever, it's good to have an unaffected Link monster, because trust me, they're gonna have ways to deal with it, either to banish it or something like that. So you want to have at least this play, and also it's nice to also have this in the deck, because it's definitely a must, I would say. If you're not running Crystal Heart, you must be an insane guard without it, but for me, I have to run 1. Then we have Splash Mage. Splash Mage is good because it can also enable a 1-card link 4. It's also good for extension, and yeah, very nice in the deck. In the Starboy, again, it's here because you don't have a lot of flex spots here, so I just put in 2 water monsters that's easy to make. You could add Area the Water Charmer, but that adds from deck to hand. I like to add from graveyard because normally we have monsters in our graveyard normally, so that's fine. Triple Anemone might seem a bit much, but actually it does come up a lot, especially in the grind games where your opponent has a lot of answers to everything. An enemy is basically a monster reborn with 1500 less attack in your grave, which most of your monsters will have. And when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, so even as an equip, it can target any Marincess card, monster, spell, or trap and add it to your hand, which is perfect. Then we also have the Coral Triangle, which requires 2 Marincess monsters, so not water monsters, so it's kind of not as broken, but it's still quite broken. It can send a water monster from hand to grave, add any Marincess trap from deck to hand. So if you already have a wave in hand, you don't need to go into Triangle, but if you don't and you want to go into that play, by all means go for it. But her second effect is quite nice. If only your opponent controls a monster, so usually we go first, we make this, go second, they wipe our board, we have nothing on field. We can banish this card from the grave and we can special summon water link monsters from your grave whose combined link rating equals exactly 3. So it's usually the targets are going to be an enemy and Sea Angel. Again, because of the open links and the link arrows, want to make sure you summon those 2. Blue Slug doesn't help because it's a link arrow down, so you want something that you'll be able to summon to if need be. So it's basically a soul charge for the deck. It's pretty nice. It's 2 monsters you're getting from the grave, which is insane. So, and if you have Bubble Reef on field and you basically revive it back, put it back in your grave, it's good for follow-up. Then we have Marbled Rock. Again, this is similar to an enemy where we can target a Marincess card in the grave, except itself, add it to hand. And if it's on the field, when an opponent monster declares an attack, you can send one Marincess monster from your hand to grave. For that battle, monsters cannot be destroyed by bio, and also you take no battle damage. So basically, you're saying if you have multiple Marincess monsters in your hand, you pretty much are not going to lose, and this card will still stay on the field. That's pretty nice, and it becomes 4,500 when it's equipped with 3 monsters. Then we have the main boss monster of the deck, which is Aqua Argonaut. She's insane. She's almost like a Towers, basically, if she's unaffected. And only monsters can attack her. No one else can attack while she's on the extra one. She's in the extra monster zone, which is insane. Then she can also target a water monster we control and target a card their controls, send it back to the hand or even the extra deck if needed. Then we also have, in addition to that, a Spell and Trap Negate, which will summon a equipped monster that is equipped to this card. That's just insane. Then we also have the secondary boss monster of the Link 4s, which is Bubble Reef, and she's basically a Deco Talker Heat Soul, which is for water, which is insane. And she can basically, you know, draw a card every turn. She gets big, like 600 attack for each monster banished face up, and she can also revive one of your banished Marincess monsters by discarding a water monster from your hand. So it's kind of nice thing. And then to round up the extra deck, we have Stealth Kraken, which is, again, to go for our rank 4 exceeds. And yeah, it's a pretty good card. It can destroy a monster your opponent controls, which will be water, because it turns a monster on the field into water, and inflicts damage to them equals half to the attack they had on the field. So that pretty much wraps up the deck. Now, we do have some other options there you can run. Droplet's good. Maxi, if we have it, run it. Ghost Spell's insane. Definitely you can run it in the normal build, you can run it. And then your Abyss Dweller, if you need it, but it's not really needed. And then for Stealth Kraken, spawn another one in case this one dies. You have another one. So that's pretty much it. So those are the options that you can have. But for me, this is the build that I'm running now. This is going to be the end of the deck profile. Let's go on to the test stands. Alright, so this is the test stand part of the video. So I'm going to go through as many tests as I can, but also I don't want to make the video too long, so I will at some point stop just to give you an idea. But this is pretty much just to tell you what my mindset is when I see my opening hand and what lines I can go through. So again, I don't know what my opponent's playing, because this again is a best of 1, so I just have to go with the best possible combo that I can. So apologize in advance if I do make any potential misplays or if there were lines which I could have gone through. But I think for Marincess specifically, you kind of have to understand how your deck is and where you can see the further lines of play. So in my hand currently, I have Sea Nettle, 2 copies of Ice Jade Tomorrow, I have 1 copy of Iceberry, and I have Spring Girl. So unfortunately now, you see, we're kind of in a predicament because now we need Marincess monsters to link live. So I need to first have a nice extension first, and then I go. Now fortunately, Sea Nettle is a extender for the deck, so at the very least we can make at least a link 4, but now whether it's going to be unaffected or not, that is depending on how we go. So let's see what we can do with this hand. So I think the best play here would be to first activate Tomorrow's effect to summon a Marincess Spring Girl, and I'm going to link off into Marincess Blue Slug, and I'm not going to activate the effect of Spring Girl. I'm going to activate the effect of Blue Slug to add back the Spring Girl, and it will ask you to trigger, but you're going to say no to that. Now, because we use Tomorrow's effect, we basically have an additional normal summon for the deck. So we are going to normal summon the Spring Girl to whichever zone, that's fine. And this is going to be very important. We're going to link off into Marincess Sea Angel, and now this is important. Now we're gonna activate Sea Angel first as Chain Link 1. Now we're gonna chain Spring Girl as Chain Link 2, because now if they want to Ash Blossom us, they cannot, because we basically chain block. So activate that effect, and let's see what we mill. And now we didn't get anything nice, but we did get an Ice Bear in the grave, which is pretty nice, even for next turn, which is awesome. So we're actually gonna add an Ocean, and now it's gonna ask us to basically ask us an Ice Bear. Okay, do you want to activate the effect? We can always activate it at any time, but I think let's just activate it now in case we need to have it. So I'm actually going to search for my Kairushin, and I'm gonna add a water monster from deck to grave. So guess what? We can even add back our Springo if need to, but I don't need to. I'm gonna add back my Kairushin in this case. And now we're going to link off these two, Sea Angel and Blue Slug, into the Crystal Heart, right? And Crystal Heart is unaffected by opponent's monster effects while it's in the monster zone, so that's perfectly fine. Now we're gonna special summon Sea Nettle and can summon to any zone, and now we're obviously locked off for the rest of the turn, except for water monsters to special summon, which is totally fine. And now here we're gonna go link off into an enemy. Now the nice thing about this play is it's gonna ask you to trigger, for instance, Battle Ocean's effect to equip monsters. We're not gonna do that in this case. If you look here very clearly, it says an enemy is summoned, now summoned with Marincess Crystal Heart. So even if the opponent now wants to negate our Monster Reborn, they can't, because Marincess Crystal Heart, link summon in the extra monster zone, makes all your monsters unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So if they want to imperm, or if they want to do something, they can't, because we're basically unaffected through Crystal Heart's link summoning effect. So we're gonna revive back our Crystal Heart, because now we're gonna make our Link 4 play. Now here you can go for either Bubble Reef or Argonaut. Now normally the best play here is to go for Argonaut, and then now we're gonna trigger now to equip. So we're gonna chain link 1 Battle Ocean, and we're gonna chain link 2 core an enemy, and now we get to get back our Springo back to hand for further extension if need be. And now we get to equip Marincess monster. So normally you always want to equip an enemy, and you want to equip Blue Slug, and you want to equip Sea Angel, because Crystal Heart you want to keep in the grave. If she does get banished, you can also make a Bubble Reef, then you can recover it back, so that's also not an issue. So we're going to equip those 3 monsters, and we're going to set our Ice Barrier. So even next turn, if they have nothing, no fall off plays, we can also summon now our Kairushin with our Sea Style 2 online, and then they're basically fully locked out of the game unless they don't play water monsters. So that's kind of the nice hand we have here. So you see, just with Spring Girl, Tremora, we pretty much, and Sea Nettle, we pretty much had, you know, pretty much a 3-card combo essentially. So this is the hand that you can deal with here. And you don't need to have Wave because it's kind of sufficient here. So yeah, this is the first test hand. Let's get on to the second one. Alright, so here unfortunately we had like the worst hand we can get, because we only drew a Carleton Hidden Gem with the Seafront. So unfortunately this is not bad, but also can be great. We drew double Wave. So again, the downside with my build is that yes, you can draw double, but I guess that's kind of the risk and reward. But it's not the end of the world, because it's not a once per turn. So, and also you have normal impermanence. So we're gonna keep one in hand, obviously. And also we drew the Marincess Blue Tang. Now, most people tell, oh, but now there's no synergy here. Huh? What plays can you do? Well, let's activate Seafront's effect to discard, and now we get an additional normal summon this turn. So Blue Tang is going to normal summon herself. And we're not going to activate her effect yet, because remember, we're going to activate her effect when we have Sea Angel on field. So let's do that play. If they imperm, that's fine. Let's go Blue Slug. Blue Slug will activate her effect to target the Blue Tang. We're not going to activate Blue Tang's effect yet. Right? Then now we're going to normal summon the Blue Tang. And we actually, let's assume they don't have an impermanence, right? If they don't impermanence, that's also fine. But let's say they do not want to imperm, we can actually now send a Mandarin to the grave. Now Mandarin, remember, in the hand or grave can summon to a Marincess link zone it points to. So we're actually going to send the Mandarin to the grave. And now we're going to link off into Sea Angel. So Sea Angel is now going to add a Marincess spell, but at the same time we're also going to chain the Blue Tang. So chain link 1 is always going to be Sea Angel, then chain link 2 to chain block will be Blue Tang to activate. Then if you want to imperm, this is actually the best time to imperm, but let's say for argument's sake they don't, then let's see what we get from the hand. We get nothing, and we get a Battle Ocean. All right, then now we're going to activate Battle Ocean, right? And now, because we have Mandarin Engrave, we can summon her to Sea Angel's Link Zone. So now we can go to a link arrow and point to that zone, and now we can special summon her. And now we can go Crystal Heart. Don't need to activate the equip effect. And now, because you have Raven Hand already, we don't need to activate Horror Triangle. So we can go straight into Horror and Enemy. And we can go into that play if you want to. And now, let me show you the interaction here. So let's say for some reason they didn't want to imperm us the whole time. Remember, like I said before, we are now summoned with Marincess Crystal Heart. So even if they want to do anything, like imperm us, for example, to stop our Link 4 play, they can't because we are unaffected. So we're going to activate to try and revive our Crystal Heart. Let's say now they decide, okay, let's imperm now, right? And we target the monster. Oh, nothing happens because we're unaffected by our monster that was summoned through Crystal Heart, which is quite nice. So although people don't run her, I always run one of, because she can be very useful in this case. Now you see, both of Seafront and Blue Tang, we still perfected the 1-card Link 4, even without Wave. And now we can go ahead and summon our Argonaut. And now we can go into the further plays where we can add the Blue Tang back to our hand for further plays next turn. And we equip Blue Slug and Sea Angel and an enemy. And we also have double Wave in hand. So normally we're not going to use all, we're going to use one. But if for some reason the opponent has multiple negates, we can basically have triple negate because we have Impermanence, which we're going to set. And also we have Marincess Wave in hand. We have double in case something happens that we need to have triple disruption, but that's kind of ridiculous. And on top of that, we also have Argonaut, which is also a spell and trap negate as well, which will normally revive back an enemy. Then for next turn, we can revive back, spin a card back to hand. Here we go. So this is the second line of route you can go. And remember, we just used Blue Tang and Seafront. So the power of Seafront with anything, pretty much it gives you so much opportunity to extend. So that's why I like this hand a lot. Although we got double Wave, which is kind of unfortunate, we still were able to pull off the Link 4 combo unaffected. Plus we have Impermanence. This is a pretty much unbreakable board. If they have something to out it, then they're pretty much the best of all time. But this is a good hand. So that's it for this combo. Let's go into another test hand. Alright, so here we have kind of an interesting hand because here we have Mandarin, we have Tremora, we have an Ash Blossom, we have Sleepy Maiden, and also have Karusha. Now, you people will think, oh, but no, Mandarin is only good as an extender. Is she good as a starter? Well, let's see. Well, I'm going to normal summon her, and I'm going to activate the Blue Slug in the grave. I can either add it to the hand or keep it in the grave, so I'm keeping it in the grave for now. Then I'm going to activate Sleepy Maiden to summon herself onto the field, targeting a Marincess card, which will make them indestructible. But that's fine. Then we're going to go Horror and Enemy. Horror and Enemy is going to actually revive the Mandarin. And now, watch this. Now we can go Sea Angel. Sea Angel is going to search for, well, attempt to search for a Battle Ocean. And let's say, for argument's sake, this does get disrupted, let's say. So let's say they pop Ash Blossom, right? Okay, cool. Now our play's over, right? Because you would have gone Sea Angel, Mandarin, Link 4, and then we pretty much a GG from there, right? So you can see Mandarin is still activatable. So if we had the Battle Ocean, we still had the Link 4 play unaffected. Plus, we also now would have gone now with this route. Summon the Karushan. And then let's activate Karushan to activate Sea Stealth 2. To summon from hand, let's activate Mandarin. Summon into Sea Angel's Link Arrow. Then we're going to go into the Coral Triangle. Use an enemy also. Then you're going to link off. Going to add back the Sleepy Maiden to hand. We've already used their effect, so we're going to just discard. And we're going to add our wave. And then we're going to make our Link 4, which is going to be, in this case, Bubble Reef. And now we can use Sleepy Maiden's effect to equip a Link Monster's and then we're just gonna give it now. So now she basically has 3200, and we can equip core an enemy. So she goes to get out again. She can kind of do a follow up here. So here we pretty much have a good board. Mandarin basically gave full combo. All right, so here we have the Spring Girl, Pascalis, Sea Nettle, as well as Cobalt the Grave and Harpy's Feather Duster. So these are good for normally going first, but also it's also good for going first as well. So let's see what we can do with this play. So I'm gonna normal summon Pascalis. Pascalis effect resolve, summon the Spring Girl from hand. Now, this is what we normally would do. We're gonna link it into Slug. Slug is going to add Pascalis. You can also keep her in the graveyard, but I just choose to add her just for the sake of this video. Then we can now link off Sea Angel, and because Spring Girl was linked off, so now we're gonna chain one Sea Angel, and we're gonna chain 2 Spring Girl. Okay, mode the ocean, but that's why I say we got a second ocean, so that's fine. Then we got now a second copy of Battle Ocean, and I think we know what the play is from here. We're gonna summon Crystal Heart. We're gonna go into Sea Nettle, and we're going to link off into Coral and Enemy. Coral and Enemy is unaffected by card effects, so if we now do Monster Reborn, we can revive back. And also we can link off now into our Argonaut. We're going to chain Battle Ocean, and we're going to chain the Coral and Enemy to add back the Spring Girl, or we can add back a Battle Ocean, but unnecessary. So I mean, any balance Lima engraved, so if something happens to our monsters, we can always just protect them. Let's add back our Spring Girl, and let us give us a equips to our Argonaut. So this is a pretty good hand, not bad. We could have gone a different route, but we do have the option to extend, but in this case, no needed, so that's perfectly fine. And also we have Cobalt the Grave, so that's perfectly fine. And yeah, that's it for this test hand. Let's get on to the next one. All right, so here we have Seahorse, Tremora, Atlas Lima, and Fortress Whale. So here we pretty much have an interesting hand, but we can still make it work. So remember I said Seahorse by herself is a 1-card combo, right? So there's no point making her the opening start, right? We also have Tremora in hand. We could also just summon the Whale, but that would be useless because you're not summoning on the opponent's turn, so it doesn't make sense. So what we can do is, let's go Tremora into Atlas Lima. Then we're going to use Blue Slug. We're not going to add her effect yet, actually, because you would say, oh, but now why would you not add her effect? Remember, we use it with Tremora, so in this case, we're actually going to add back to the hand, right? And then we're going to go normal summoning Atlas Lima again into Sea Angel. No disruptions from the opponent, so let's add our Battle Ocean. If they had an Ash, we had a Cobalt the Grave, that's no problem. Now we can go link these two off into Crystal Heart. And that's why we kept Seahorse in hand, because she is a free extension. There we go. And then they see we still achieve the 1-card link 4. So in this case, a 2-card link 4. Tremora, so that actually makes a 3-card. So we're not going to activate the equip effect, we're going to revive, and then we pretty much go to the same end board which you've seen multiple times. Equip 1, and we're going to equip 2 into an enemy, and we're going to actually add back our Seahorse because Atlas Lima is actually good in the grave, and we're going to equip our regular monsters, and that is our turn 1 play. So you see, the play is kind of the same, but the combo lines deviate depending on what you have in your hand. So you see, we had Tremora and we had 2 Marincess monsters. One of them was an extender, other one was kind of a starter in a way, but you see how we used them effectively. If we had someone just normal summon Atlas Lima, it wouldn't actually be useful, it would have been a waste, right? Because we basically, Tremora gives us essentially 2 normal summons. Because we special summon and then we normal summon, and then obviously Seahorse was an extender, so that was also quite nice. So this is also, again, very good play, but again, having understanding of your deck is very important because you can see what the combo lines end up in. But you see now, we still have unaffected Link 4, and we also have Cobalt the Grave for further disruption, and we can take it from there. So this is another good test hand. Let's get on to the next one. All right, so here So here it's perfect because here we only have Marincess monsters, right? We have Sea Style 2, which is great for our monsters to be not targetable. We also have Mandarin in the hand, which is perfect. We also have Sprinkle in the hand, and we have Blue Tang, and we have Sleepy Maiden now. So this is actually a pretty much full combo no matter what. So here's the plans we can go. So the best obviously is to normal summon Blue Tang, right? Now because we have Mandarin in the hand, and we have Sprinkle, we can actually now search for our Seahorse, right? So I'm gonna go search for Seahorse in the grave, and I'm gonna link into Blue Slug. Now here, in this case, I'm actually gonna chain link. I'm gonna chain Blue Tang first, and then chain link 2 at our Seahorse, right? And we're gonna activate. Okay, we get nothing, and now we're actually gonna use Spring Girl to banish our Blue Tang. She's done the job. So now when we search for Sea Angel and we link off, now we can chain block again. So chain link 1, Sea Angel, then chain link 2, Spring Girl, we mill, that is Lima and the Ocean, which is fine, and we get our second Ocean, which is perfect, right? So here now we can decide. Okay, let's activate our Ocean, right? So we can either add, we can either say, okay, do you want to search for wave? No. If you don't want to search for wave, you link off into Crystal Heart, you will go into the foreign enemy, you'll make your Winker link 4 unaffected, and that's it. But I'm actually going to go for the wave pull as well. So because you have Sleepy Maiden in hand, it can be any water monster basically. We pretty much need these two. So there's two lanes you can go. You can either normal summon, so either special summon Seahorse, then you link off into the link 3. I don't need to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the Mandarin, summon her to a zone. Then you're going to make Crystal Heart, right? Then we're going to make our Coral Triangle. Okay, now she's unaffected by Crystal Heart, so if there's an Ash Blossom or an Impermanence, they can't negate it. So I'm going to discard the Sleepy Maiden, and I'm going to add my wave. And I remember, since we kept Seahorse in hand, we can now special summon, and now we can go into the link 4 play as per normal. Very standard, pretty much the standard board with now extra plays. And now we go into our final play here with this Argonaut. Now there we can decide what to add. So here we can chain link 1, then chain link to an enemy. So here you can have two choices, right? You can either add Sleepy Maiden, which will target our Battle Ocean and it will become indestructible, or we can go for the Spring Girl play, which can be followed up for next turn. So let's, for argument's sake, you want to add the Sleepy Maiden. Let's add the Sleepy Maiden, just show you what the ideal end board is going to be. And now we can equip monsters. So here we're going to an enemy. You can also equip the triangle as well, Sea Angel, and let's for argument's sake equip the Coral Triangle, right? Okay, cool. Now we're going to activate Sleepy Maiden's effect, target any Marincess card. So she's already unaffected, so let's target the Battle Ocean. And let us summon her in defense position. And remember, they cannot target her for attacks because they're only going to target Argonaut. And the nice thing about this is, if let's say they have a Nightmare Phoenix, they cannot destroy this card. So, and also have a wave in hand. And we got Sea Style 2. So again, our monsters are pretty much goated. So this is again a nice board. So if you have 4 Marincess cards in hand, you can pretty much have anything. So if you have Blue Tang, Spring Girl, plus any 2 Marincess monsters, you pretty much still have full combo. You can still search for wave, and you can still be unaffected. So that's kind of a nice play here. So let's just go for the next test stand here. Alright, so here again, you see, we got Mandarin in the hand, Sleepy Maiden, and we got pretty much a going second card evenly matched, and we got Mega Fortress Whale. So here, what we can do is we can actually go the route of, let's go Mandarin first. Let us go for the Sea Angel here, because I already have Battle Ocean in the hand. So actually I'm going to search for Dive. Then we're going to link into that, and then we're actually going to go Sleepy Maiden, target this, Then we can make our crystal art, right? And then we can activate dive, summon from the deck. And now watch this, we can actually make Mandarin. But now we're gonna actually activate Blue Tang first. So let's summon Blue Tang. Blue Tang is gonna send a Marincess monster from deck to grave. So it's gonna send our, pretty much send any monster we want, because Mandarin is already in the grave, so we can actually trigger her effect. And then we can actually search for our waves. So let's search for, let's just send Spring Girl for argument's sake. And now Mandarin's effects on activate in the graveyard to target Crystal Heart's Link Arrow and special summon to that zone. Now we can go into the play of Coral Triangle with any of them, doesn't really matter. It will be unaffected, so now we can even discard the whale, we don't really need it. Go into wave, and then still end up with full combo still. It really doesn't matter. So still the same inboard. And now here, because now we used her now to make an enemy Blue Tang, we're actually gonna chain Link 1 first here. Chain Link 1, then we chain Link 2 just to make sure, okay, it doesn't get disrupted. Let's just equip the Coral Triangle, doesn't really matter. And we activate, and wow, look at that. We search for a Seahorse. And she's a free special summon as well if we needed to, but it's not necessary here. Let us link off into our main Link 4, into Argonaut, and we pretty much have the same setup as before. In this case, I'm going to add actually the Spring Girl. Where's the Spring Girl? And we still equip our monsters. Alright, so you see here we didn't need to make a blue slug, so this is interesting play. And if we wanted to also equip, we can also equip again, but again it's unnecessary. And also have wave for follow-up, so we're pretty much a GG from here. And that is pretty much like most of the Marincess lines that you can go to. Now of course it all depends on what your hand is. You won't always get a hand like this, but I think you see even with the test hand you still have to know where the lines are. There's kind of a choke point, but then there's also now a way to extend beyond the choke point. So again, understanding your deck is quite useful, but this is hopefully something that you can appreciate. The fact that, okay, yes, not a lot of hand traps around in the deck. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm getting out as much monsters as possible and making use of it. So that's pretty much the test hands, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know how you like this type of videos, because I feel like it makes me more interactive with you guys, because you can see, okay, not just posting gameplay and that's it. Also good to see, you know, how I build my decks, why I build it a certain way, what are the combo lines you can go through with these test hands. And yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. Let me know below in the comments how you feel about this, and yeah, leave a like, comment, subscribe. We have more quality content coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.